You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Friday, April 18th, less than a week away from the draft. So this is going to be a very draft-heavy show. And as always, joining me on an off-season Friday is my guy, Wayne Breezy. Wayne, how you doing, man?
What up, what up, what up? Man, listen, we are here. We are 6 days. Is it 6 days? I think 6 days. 5 days, 6, whatever. We're close.
Yeah.
Close. Super close. 6 days away to the NFL draft. Malik Mustafa days away. I should know because I posted every morning.
Seen that.
Yeah, but I felt like I thought I posted it already yesterday morning and whatever. I'm off. But anyway, we're close and I'm excited. So
definitely excited. Definitely a lot to talk about as we wind down this draft season. But first, Wayne, I think we got to start with just this little update from Matt Mayoko regarding Brock Purdy and those pesky negotiations that have been going on. He joined KNBR yesterday. And so I want to start off the show talking about that, what he had to say. 1 second here as I pull up the audio.
Is that the 49ers have made an offer. It's kind of sitting out there. Brock Purdy and his camp, and I don't know how much involved Brock is. I'm sure the agent is shielding him from a lot of this stuff, but the offer the 49ers have made isn't one that Brock Purdy's side is inclined to take at this point, nor will they. So it's just a matter of trying to find that right number. I think Purdy's camp it feels like the market is set. The market is what it is. And they believe that he's earned it. Jed York referred to Brock Purdy a couple of weeks ago as a top 10 quarterback. So we'll see how this plays out. But right now, nothing is, from my understanding, it doesn't sound like anything's close. There will still be, I'm sure, a few more offers exchanged here in the coming weeks. So, eventually, everybody seems to be confident that it'll get done eventually. But it's just kind of this back and forth. And it's kind of been the way the 49ers have operated with Parag Marathe as a chief negotiator, John Lynch as, the decision maker and general manager. They haven't necessarily been proactive, as far as let's get this deal done now. I'm not sure that there's a lot more that could happen on the quarterback market that would change how this deal would be structured or the average per year or the signing bonus money. So, it's a process, and nothing much has changed over the last couple of weeks.
All right, Wayne. So that was a long update from Mayoko, but I don't think we really got much new information from it. Like if Brock Purdy had accepted or had wanted to accept a deal at this point, that would have already happened. So I think we know that as long as we don't hear anything in terms of a deal being done, it means Brock Purdy has not and doesn't want to accept whatever is on the table right now.
yeah, man, I don't think we really know the numbers that are on the table. The rumors that came out a while ago was $45 million, and you heard a lot of people tried to shoot that down, but that sounds about right. I mean, that sounds like an offer I would turn down. Because think about it. Like, if the number were $50 million, yeah, I'd probably turn it down, but they didn't start at that number, right? You know what I mean? So, like, I agree. This is not much of an update, Steph, but this is the 49ers and how they do business. This is kind of how it is. They lowball guys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they lowball Brock to make him not want to be quarterback. I don't think there's any other team that's going to be willing to trade for Brock Purdy at this point, or maybe there is. Maybe you got a couple of teams right now like that are in dire need of quarterbacks. So who knows what may happen? But I do think that the deal will get done, and the question is just when. And I would like for Brock and the 49ers to come to the agreement, before, the installs, the OTAs, whenever it is where they got to start installing these systems so that they can get used to rocking out with the number ones, the ones and stuff like that. I'm hoping, you know what I mean? Because if I'm Brock's agent, he's not going out there. You're not going out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. This isn't much of an update. Obviously, we know how the 49ers deal with their negotiations. They're drawing a hard line in the sand. Brock Purdy and his, representation right now saying we're not going to take it. So this could go on, as we know, for as long as it needs to. And hopefully, obviously, as fans, we're hoping it doesn't go into the offseason program, which, starts not too long after the draft. So, there's still some time to get some of this done, but they got to start moving quickly on this. But Wayne, let's get back to the draft and talking about that. It's still a very fun topic at this time. And, especially because we got the final verified list of the 49ers 30 visits, and there's a lot of intriguing names on this list. And by the way, if you guys want to see and follow along, looking at the full list with us here, you can go to bit.ly/49ers draft tracker 2025 to see my draft tracker in action here. So let's look at who the 49ers are bringing in. And what I think, Wayne, I feel like you can kind of start to get some hints as to what positions the 49ers are targeting in what rounds.
Absolutely.
So tell me what you think when you see this list of players.
I mean, they're looking to go defensive tackle edge in the first round. They're looking to go offensive tackle in the first round. So, you look at it. And so what they did was they brought in guys in tiers, right? So they brought in guys that they can draft in different rounds. I think that was something that I like. And then you see some of the corners, they didn't visit with the top tier corners. They visit with guys that they can get mid to late round, 4th, 5th. We don't have a 6, maybe possible if they slide to the 2nd. They didn't meet with any safeties, but Upton Stout can play safety. So they have an interchangeable guy right there. And then when you look at the corners that they went after speed and dogs. That's how I'm going to categorize those cornerbacks that they went, speed and dogs. That's what they got. But again, you go back to the offensive line, Kelvin Banks, first rounder, Anthony Belton, 3rd or 4th. I'm looking dead at your list. Josh Connolly can slip to the 1st, easily 1st, might slide to the 2nd, which would be good for the Niners. They don't have to spend the 1st round pick on an offensive tackle. They can get an offensive tackle in the 2nd round that they have a 1st round grade on. This is huge. Ariante Ursery, another 2nd round tackle. So you can tell Josh Simmons 1st, might slide to the 2nd. Okay. This is what they're looking to do. And then when you look at the offensive line, the interior guys, 3rd round guys, right? Guys that they know they can get in the 3rd round. Think Dominic Pooney, 3rd round guys, right? Marcus Bowe. They even got a center on here that they brought in. You dig? So I'm excited. Jonah Monium is up here. Then you got Caleb Rogers, the versatile offensive lineman from Texas Tech. Okay, so they're looking to address it. Receivers, interesting that they went after Jordan Watkins. Well, they interviewed Jordan Watkins and Kyle Williams. Now, Kyle Williams has been starting to become a fan favorite, okay? But Jordan Watkins, a lot of people don't know much about this kid from Ole Miss. He's another dynamic weapon that they had. You think of Ole Miss, and it's Juice Wells, it's Trey Harris. Don't sleep on Jordan Watkins. And it's a possibility he might go undrafted. So the Niners have 3 7th-round picks. I wouldn't be surprised if they use a 7th-rounder on a wide receiver. And certainly not, last but not least, the tight ends. Come on, Steph. They got a tight end for just about the like 2nd round, 3rd round, right? Harold Fannin, right? Jackson Hall, I would say 4th to 6th, and then Jalen Connors, I would say 5th to 7th, right? They got 3 waves, and all these guys can block, and all these guys are red zone threats. No one's talking about their red zone ability to be threats in the red zone. Jalen Conyers, Harold Fannin Jr., Jackson Halls. And we got a chance to see Jackson Halls at the Senior Bowl where he caught a couple of red zone touchdowns from Seth Hennigan from Memphis. So, this is solid. And I just want to put out there, I know Steph has the damn tracker for how we don't know the percentage. I think we kind of guessed the percentage in the last episode. It's like 10%, right? But my point is, this is a different year. It's a different draft. It's a different class. We got different needs that 10% might get jacked up a little bit. I think the players that they actually brought in for 30 visits are players that they're very high on.
Well, I think it makes sense too because this is their first year with a first-round pick again. So I
Good
think
point.
that
They had one last year. They had a first rounder last year.
Okay, yeah, you're right. It was a late first. This time they got an early first, and I think they're okay with maybe kind of telegraphing where they may go, seeing as how their pick is a little bit earlier. So with that, like I think, it's either going to be defensive line or offensive line with that first pick, which defensive line we could probably guessed was on the table since the end of the season.
Correct.
We could have guessed that.
Especially when they brought in Solido. I felt like it solidified that they were we knew they were going trenches, but defensive line, we were like, then free agency, they brought in Solid, then free agency happened, then they let everybody go. And then I'm like, oh, they got to go defensive line here, right?
So it was almost too obvious, right? You got to go for a defensive line guy. They brought in several: James Pierce Jr., Shamar Stewart, Michael Williams, Walter Nolan. And as far as the tackles that they've met with, it's kind of the same deal, right? So I kind of feel like, they could go either way as far as whether it's a defensive line guy, mostly edge, right, is where I'm leaning towards there, and tackle. Just based on who they've met on that side. Kelvin Banks Jr., Josh Connerly, although Connerly is more of a late first. So I wouldn't expect him to be an option for the 49ers at 11. I'm thinking Kelvin Banks Jr., Josh Simmons. Even Simmons would be, I don't want to call him a reach, right? But
at 11, he'll be a reach. You must avoid Simmons at pick 11. That is my take. Must avoid him. And it's because of the injury risks, right? And so if at 11 you draft the impact player right now, at 43, you can take the risk. You can take the chance on the risk. Because if he's good to go, it's a hit. If he's not good to go, it's okay because your line is still solidified. You have depth there on the offensive side, and you're drafting necessarily for the future. So I'm okay with drafting Josh Simmons with pick 43. And I'm going to keep it a buck. If Kelvin Banks, Josh Connerly, and Josh Simmons is sitting at 43 and the Niners go offensive line, it better be Josh Simmons 100%. And I love Josh Connerly. Let's just keep, I don't care if he got ran over by Mike Green. His ass shouldn't have been on the right side, right? Play him on the left side.
We'll him for that.
Yeah, that's where he belongs, right? But I do think he's good. He's athletic enough to play in this zone system that we like to run. So that's what I'm looking at these guys. These are athletic guys, all right? Don't look for the 40 speed for these guys. Look for 3 cones and 10-yard splits, and that's where they kind of win. I think Josh Simmons has the highest ceiling out of the tackles that we've actually had 30 visits with.
So here's my guess right now that it's going to be an edge rusher at pick 11. The other option, of course, is Walter Nolan. If you guys checked out my show with Tony Pauline, 2 names that he said he's heard the 49ers really like at 11, Walter Nolan and Shamar Stewart. Matt Mayoko, who, we just played the clip from KNBR, right? He was talking about Brock Purdy in that clip, but in that same interview, he also mentioned Walter Nolan, Shamar Stewart. So I don't think it's a coincidence at all that those 2 names keep getting linked to the 49ers. However you may feel about those players, I think that does not negate the fact that the 49ers certainly like those guys and are giving a hard look at them.
Steph, who have I been preaching since February? Walter Nolan would be the perfect pick, though, because his versatility up on the defensive front, being able to be moved around inside, outside. The Niners could go 5-man fronts, and he doesn't have to come off the football field. And you can send your speedy defensive lineman. You could put him in between. You can have different. He just gives you that. Yeah, all these guys. I feel like all the picks after, I would say. And everybody in this draft have things they need to work on. But I say Travis Hunter, Mason Graham, in my opinion, who's the safest pick in the draft. You can even add Tyler Warren in there, but I think there are tight ends that are better than him. But Ashton Jeanty, I think he's the best running back. But after those guys and Abdul Carter, at 11, it's tough because
it's very tough.
A lot of positions are going to be kind of like reaches. You got to reach. That's why the scenario is to trade down so you don't lose value. But at this point, it's like pick what you want. It's the variety. Who do you want? I think the Niners just go after what they want. If Walter Nolan is at 11, I would be happy jumping for joy. Like, you know what I mean? And if they go Shamar Stewart, I'll be honest with you, Steph, I wouldn't like it. Well, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't love it, but I'd find a way to like it. And what I'll start doing is banking off this guy is hella athletic. We watched him lay somebody out. We know he has that ability. The question is, can he develop consistency under Chris Kocurek? And I'm charging Chris Kocurek to get the shit right. Like, you know what I mean? You get a guy that's as athletic as him, make him right. Let's start holding these coaches accountable for these players and their development.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I think after like you get out of the top 10, out of the top 7 or so guys, like you're talking about players who have some drawbacks, all of them, right? So you mentioned any name to any 49er fan, or like, you know, on X where there's a lot of 49er fans, right? You mentioned any guy and there's at least one person or a few people who are going to be like, absolutely no, I don't like that guy for XYZ reason, right? And so unfortunately, that's just what it is at pick 11. You know, the 49ers are going to be staring down the barrel of this pick and going to be picking one of these guys who have some drawbacks, some worse than others, like some are bigger risks, I think, than others. You can call Shamar Stewart a big risk, but I think one thing is for certain. He has the traits, and the 49ers, more than anything, I think they fall on traits a lot. And so
More
I
than
think
any team in the NFL.
Any team. I think they'd feel comfortable, especially with Robert Saleh back in the fold here, that they can turn Shamar Stewart into a very productive player from the stats standpoint. Because, you know, what's funny about Shamar Stewart too, Wayne, is that like at the Senior Bowl, he was so disruptive.
That's what I'm
Like,
saying. Against all-stars.
He was getting quarterbacks off of their spot. So I think he would have a big impact on this defense, even if the production isn't there. He could also be that cleanup guy for Nick Bosa too. So I think it could work both ways where, you know, Bosa could benefit from a guy like Shamar Stewart because Bosa could be the cleanup guy, or vice versa. It'd be Shamar Stewart who would benefit from Nick Bosa. So either way, I think in tandem, I can see it working out. I try to look at how the 49ers would try to rationalize any of these guys. And I'm getting there with Shamar Stewart.
I'm getting there. Like I said, I wouldn't love it. I'd understand it, and I'd find a way to like it. You know what I mean? Because like we just spoke about a lot of his positivity. I mean, you got a guy as big as that, who was able to lose the weight to come into the Senior Bowl, to be as effective as he was. And I think that was a big thing. I mean, he lost 20 pounds, came into the Senior Bowl, looked like he was lightning out there. You watched him run at the combine. I mean, he's the fastest guy out there on the football field. You watched him jump. He's the highest jumper, longest jumper. Like, what's not there to not like about him other than the production? And he'll get a lot of one-on-ones. I think he can win one-on-ones. One-on-twos, man, he don't got the moves yet. But you're looking at a guy with the lowest floor, highest ceiling at the edge rushing position. And so if the Niners went that route, I totally understand it. I just can he? If he fell to 43, I would love it. You know what I mean? I think they need to go interior, because when we did our show, and I've done previous shows as well, I'm gonna try.
We always try. I mean,
now, I'm gonna read you 4 names. Just 4. It's only 4. It's only 4 names, and I'm not gonna read them in any order. Kalia Davis, Evan Anderson, Jordan Elliott, and Kevin Givens. And this is not a shot at those guys, but most of those guys are rotational guys.
Yeah, those are the only guys.
Those are the only guys.
That's a problem.
So I don't know how we don't look to address the interior.
Yeah.
Even though it's the deepest in the draft, it's a big drop. So it's like Mason Graham as a tier, and then you got Nolan and Harmon in a tier, and then you got Sanders, Norman Lott. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, Tyleek Williams, maybe you bump him up, but he's more of a nose tackle. It's Kenneth Grant, nose tackle, in my opinion, but he could play in the 4-3 as well. Did it at Michigan. It's just weird. It's a weird thing. So I think you go with the guy that's twitchy up front, whether you go with the short. And I like the leverage, the size of a Nolan, who's pushing close to 300, opposed to being super big or super light. He's like right in between, and he has perfect leverage to not get, to get up underneath those offensive tackles, those 6'6" guys, 6'5" guys. So I like that, opposed to having a 6'6" guy on a defensive front or a 6'7" guy who plays with high pad level, and the next thing you know, we're back in the same situation we were in 2020. I don't want to go back to there. I don't want to go back to that.
We certainly do not. And so with this, like with these visits, again, like, are we getting a big hint from the 49ers of where they may go? Well, yes, maybe, but at the same time, the 49ers don't give hints. They don't like to give hints. And for this being so obvious and all of us fans like looking at this list and saying, oh, this definitely means they're going to go this position in the first round. I think there's a chance that the 49ers are trying to trick us all into thinking they're going a certain direction.
So let's figure out. Let's try to guess the trick. All right? Let's try to guess the trick. You pick a player that you think the Niners are going to go with, and I'll pick a player. Who you So you okay, that's fine.
So I think, Wayne, it's good if we each pick one player because I honestly think there's two players.
Okay.
So you mentioned one. Go.
All right, and I saw the one you were pointing to. So you see, I was thinking, I'm. Don't be mad.
Not gonna be mad.
Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan. You get, and I'm gonna say this to say this. He gets his version of Sauce Gardner. He gets his guy that he can rely on to play that man versus zone, press man. Like, he just gets a guy that really understands zone concepts, so you don't have to really school him on the zone concepts. And then he gets this guy that can kind of like, get a little bit bigger, get a little stronger if they decided to go man, and you're essentially replacing Travarius Ward with a better guy like that, and that could be something that Salah's looking for. You look at how Sauce Gardner was out there. This kid's been comped to Pat Surtain the second. So and I'm gonna be honest, I don't give a what his 40 time is. If you watch him on film, and I was talking to 31 other content creators on Bleacher Report last night when we did our mock draft, they were like, yeah, but on film he's like 4.38, 4.36. I'm like, I'm trying to tell people, but everybody wants to see him run top speed. He's just not an athlete. He's not a track star. He's a football player. And even if he ran, it wasn't going to be fast. So it was probably going to hurt him more to run and then push him down. Whereas he's just like, I'm not going to run. Trust what you see on film. I wouldn't be surprised if they go Will Johnson, cornerback.
Okay. That's not where I thought you were going to go. What? I should have known, actually. Michigan guy.
No, that's not it. I'm saying to you, you give Salah to sew up the secondary. You have a three-headed monster. Boom, boom, boom. Now you can focus on, you got guys that can cover down the field. Your safeties are in place. And now you can really get after the guys up front. They have more time, which, guys like to get the ball in their hands 1.2 seconds. What was that stat you had? The release of the quarterback. They like to get the ball out super quick against us. And so with the coverage down the field, there's not going to be anybody to throw to.
Yeah.
That's just my theory, and I can see it happening, but I'm hoping it doesn't.
I mean, it definitely could, because again, like, I'm expecting the 49ers pull something completely out of left field.
That was left field that's as left field you're going to get.
Left field. Although, Wayne, there's so many mock drafts who have the 49ers taking a corner. And so part of me is also wondering, well, why is that? So, like, there's two things that almost feel too obvious to me that
okay,
the 49ers would go the opposite direction on. These 30 visits indicating that they're going to go with any of these edge players, or that the 49ers are going to go for Jahdae Barron or Will Johnson at pick 11. And I'm just simply not buying it. I asked Tony Pauline, like, if he had heard anything about the 49ers going for corner at 11, and he said he hadn't heard that. Again, he just heard Nolan and Stewart. But I think also another possibility, if they go edge at 11, there's Mike Green, who
I hope so.
There was the.
Please don't let him go to the Falcons.
I think the Falcons go Jalen Walker. Or sorry.
I think
they might go Michael Williams. I think Panthers go Jalen Walker. I think
I think if the Niners don't take Mike Green, he's a Falcon.
When did the Falcons pick again?
15th.
Yeah, probably.
Then that
Actually,
sucks.
when I asked Tony Pauline, he said the highest he sees Mike Green going is to the Bengals.
That's 17th.
I think they're 16, no?
16th or 17th. Yes, correct.
So, which was interesting. But then again, the 49ers don't mind reaching on guys. Like based on
You're right.
They go against the consensus all the time. Almost exclusively with their first round picks. Like, I don't know what it is, but they latch on to these guys that they really like, and they don't care where everyone else has them on their board. They will get that player. And Bengals have 17, I guess. So, yeah, I think Mike Green could be a possibility. Remember, the 49ers didn't necessarily need to bring him in for a 30 visit, although maybe he was a visit and they didn't want that to get out there. But they did, KJ Wright coached him at the Senior Bowl, obviously one of the players that he really liked out there. And then also the other players, Derek Harmon.
Yeah.
They had they met with him at the Combine.
He'd be a stud.
They were at his pro day. I think it just makes so much sense. And
yeah, you're talking about a guy with the highest pass rush win rate from a defensive tackle standpoint. You talk about a guy that's very disruptive up front. There's two types of pass rushers. There's the disruptive ones, and then there's the disruptive ones that are finishers too. So like my only clip to him is his ability to finish. And so that's where the missed tackles come in, right? He'll miss a guy or whatever. And it's weird because he has the measurables, right? He has the 34.5-inch arms. Like how the wingspan is crazy. But it's something about those elusive backs in the backfield. But I think he's a tree trunk up front. And I'm so happy. Like I said, Nolan, Harmon, Levin, I'm cool. Like, you give me one of those guys, I'm cool.
And some of these guys that are listed here, we definitely would not mind. But don't be surprised, folks, if the 49ers pull something completely out of left field, a player they have not visited with that first round pick at 11.
Yeah, like Jalen Walker sounds like he's going to be a 49er, like right at 11, which I wouldn't mind either.
I think he goes in the top 10, Wayne. I really do. I think
as long as you make him for the Niners, just make him an edge. Like, don't. Like, make him that edge. Like, the same way Mike Green is an edge. Make him full-time edge with the ability, you know what I'm saying, to play off ball.
This is a great stat on Nolan. Nolan is the only player in the country to have less than 5% missed tackle rate.
I'm just going to ask Invader, when I'm talking about Walter Nolan, like, where the hell you be at? Like, because I feel like people don't understand how great this kid is. I can care about anything else. The kid wants to play football. Please don't question that. But the kid is he's a force. He's relentless. Okay, yeah. Does he get beat with certain doubles? Yeah, of course. They be sending guys at him every other way. Of course, he gonna get hit and knock the wind knocked right out of him. But I feel like he'll get better. He has a high ceiling and a high floor. Like that, like everything is good. He has moves. He can learn more moves up front for sure. He has great hands in shedding blocks. I just don't understand why so much negativity surrounds this kid like he's not good. Like, I feel like we're not doing a good enough job to push the right stuff out about him.
I don't know, Wayne. I'm going to blame our good friend Johnny Dells for
that.
Yes!
I didn't want to do it. He's about to tune in right now. Johnny, you are a crook. How dare you? That's why we're drafting Jalen Milroe. And when we do, Johnny, I'm going to laugh. I'm going to be like, here's Johnny. Like,
no, that's all jokes. But yeah, I mean, Johnny obviously not a big fan of Nolan. A lot of people consume Johnny's content for good reason, but I think that's why there's this narrative out there, along with some of the character concerns with him that, unfortunately, that has picked up some steam, and that's going to be the perception of him. I invite everyone to just go watch him yourself and come up with your own evaluation on him.
For sure.
I think, me and Wayne definitely on the positive side of him, and we definitely like him. But you guys should all tune in and watch. Speaking of Wayne, let's get into 49K Draft Club this week, shall we? All right, so we got more 30 visit.
I got to hit him. That's my favorite sound right now. Then that shit gets tucked away for a lot of months.
It's a good one to have, though. I do like that sound. That's when you know it's up. So, Wayne, this week, obviously there's way more 30 visits to go through. This is our last week before the draft, being able to do the 49K Draft Club. So I was like, Wayne, just tell me 2-3 guys that you want to watch, and we'll watch those guys. So you picked David Walker and defensive tackle Aeneas Peebles. I picked offensive tackle Anthony Belton at NC State, as well as cornerback Bilhal Kone from Western Michigan. So let's start off with your guys so we can get to David Walker. And, this one's very intriguing to me, Wayne, because I'll just say, like, if the 49ers don't go with an edge rusher early, or maybe even if they do, like, this is an option they can get later in the draft, early day 3 possibly, that, man, I would absolutely love for this team. What do you like about him?
Okay, so first of all, I like that you have Ryan Fowler's clips from the Senior Bowl, because I feel like if we talk about this kid and his production, his his pass rush rate, his run stop rate, all that type of stuff, if we talk about it, they're going to be like, well, he played at Central Arkansas and the talent wasn't good. Okay, cool, no problem. All right, let's watch the Senior Bowl stuff right here, because this is where he hit the radar for the Wayne Breezy, right? This is where at the Senior Bowl, I was salivating at the mouth and I'm like, who is this kid? And next thing you know, I'm saying David Walker, David Walker, David Walker, David Walker, David Walker, right? That's what we're talking about. And we've seen it in the one-on-one drills. You posted the clips. I posted the clips. We saw KJ Wright. Happy, joy, KJ Wright, after he was winning some of his one-on-one battles. Here's what I love about David Walker. He's a disruptor up front. He can put his hand in the dirt. He can play upright, like off-ball linebacker, like in 3-4, 4-3, however you want to use him. He's undersized, but I don't think it matters. He doesn't have the super speed off the edge. I don't think that matters either, because on the football field, he has the processing to know when to turn and hit the button and when to not hit the button. So he's good against the run. He's not great against the run due to his size. I think he has short arm length as well, but he can still shed blocks enough. But as a pass rusher, as a situational guy, I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners doubled up and they got a guy up front and they got another guy like David Walker later on in the draft, because as a situational guy, a guy that could come in and you say, sick him, he will go get the quarterback. He will go get the quarterback. And that's what I love about this kid. He's relentless up front. His athleticism is good. You're looking at his RAS score. It's an 8.53. But look at where it's red. Let me just explain the RAS score, Steph, and I'll shut up. You see the composite grade, everybody, where it says poor? His height. He's 6'1". They didn't even have him labeled as 6'1" at the combine, but he's 6'1". They say he stands at 6'1". That's short. Yep. That right there hurt his score. His weight, 263, that hurt his score. But the kid is strong as an ox because he benched 26 reps, okay? And he's, like I said, he's not a 40 guy, but he can move on the football field. He has the ability to turn up. He has 68 tackles, 45 solo tackles, 21 tackles for a loss, and 10.5 sacks against whatever competition he played against at Central Arkansas. But what I loved about him was what he was doing against the All-Stars. And when you put a kid out here from a small school that stands out against the All-Stars, I'm sorry, that number needs to jump up. It just needs to jump up. And luckily, he didn't rise. Is he a top 100 player? He's a top 100 player on my big board. And he might be a top 100 player on other big boards. But this kid with the 49ers uniform on, he has one goal, and that's to get to the quarterback. I don't even think it's to win games. I think it's to get to the quarterback. I think he just wants to get to the quarterback. Can't teach that. Those are things you can't teach.
Yeah, he's a stud, man. I mean, I think he's going to be successful in the NFL, whatever his role is. Anyone that knocks him just for his size alone has not watched him play. Like, that's it. Like, I will not take any arguments from someone who hasn't actually watched him in regards to his size. He knows how to use his size to his advantage, to get under defenders, to make it difficult for tackles to establish a good pad level against him. We saw it at the Senior Bowl. You're seeing it right here in these clips. KJ Wright, 49ers saw it at the Senior Bowl firsthand. Don't underestimate that connection, by the way, that KJ Wright and the 49ers were able to make with some of these prospects. Like, don't forget that when Kyle Shanahan coached the Senior Bowl, he came away with Deebo Samuel. He knew he had to get his man. So just some of the guys that KJ Wright had, some of the guys that some of the assistant coaches had at the Shrine Bowl. Like, pay attention to those players, because I would not be surprised if at least one or two of those guys ends up being drafted by the 49ers. David Walker, I certainly would think, will be one of the 49ers favorites. He's slippery. He's quick. His get off will make him a natural in Saleh's system. And he's also just made of the right stuff. He was a team captain for Central Arkansas in his final season. And literally, I think besides his size, the only other knock on him is that he played at Central Arkansas, right? Like, had he played for a Power 5 school, maybe we'd be talking about him as like an early day 2 guy. Not sure, but like, hands down, for a day 3 option, I think he provides incredible value. So he'd definitely be one of my favorites for the 49ers.
I agree with that times 10, and I just wanted to talk because I talked to him, and he talked about why he stayed at that school. He chose to stay
Important
at
context.
Central Art. Yeah, so he chose to stay there. He had plenty other offers at bigger schools, Power 5 schools or whatever, but he wanted to remain loyal. Can't teach that shit. Sorry, YouTube. Can't teach it. Loyalty over everything. You know what I mean?
Most definitely. Yeah, I mean, for a lot of guys who stay at these smaller schools, the schools that believed in them, like, you can't even be mad at that. I think it does, show a lot of that loyalty, just the character that they have to stick with their team that chose them. So this next guy, Wayne, is, a defensive tackle, Virginia Tech, Aeneas Peebles, another guy from the Senior Bowl that can certainly fit into this 49ers defense, that certainly, was able to showcase himself in front of KJ Wright on that same national team at the Senior Bowl. So, the 49ers probably have some good information on him, right?
Yeah, man, and look, if you're looking for a guy, I think he had 4.94 speed, if I'm not mistaken, at the combine. If you're looking for a guy, that's just, what's the word? Disruptive, relentless up front, can find a way to get in through that one gap super fast and quick in a hurry with his moves, and he gets to the quarterback. He's going to be disruptive. Now, as far as him finishing, that's another story, but he's going to cause the quarterback to move. That's pass rush run rate, right? That's making the passer speed up the processing. That's what you want, right? That's what you want. And so he's going to force the quarterback to move inside and outside the pocket. Again, wouldn't be surprised if the Niners go with a 2 defensive tackle type of draft with the 11 picks that they have here. And if they are able to land a guy like Aeneas Peebles, they're going to get a warrior. No pun intended. I know you guys are Golden State fans. That's been their role, and they've been highly successful. My thing is, if you can start. But now, I'm not bringing in just Kevin Givens. I'm not rotating just Khalil. I'm rotating a warrior. The motor is ridiculous on Aeneas Peebles. Loved what I saw at the Senior Bowl. Loved what I watched on football film. Can be a little bit better against a run. I think his size might hinder that a little bit. I think he came into the combine at 284, but I think the max he's been is 290. So I'm cool with that. 6'2", 290, 284. Cool, whatever. But he's a warrior. That's what you love about him.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that jumps out is his power and how he can use his power to create that disruption, to collapse the inside of the pocket. I think that's something that, you're going to see a lot in his tape. He's the only defensive tackle so I think that speaks to, just his disruption as a pass rusher. He was also second among all defensive tackles in pass rush win rate this last season. So yeah, as far as value goes, I think this would be a good value pick for the 49ers day 3, early day 3 or late third. Maybe they could use their second, third on him. So, I wouldn't be opposed to this. Again, that experience that they had with him at the Senior Bowl could carry a lot of weight for them. And, him being a rotational guy, they can use that, right? I would like to see them address more guys who have starting upside personally. But you still need those rotational guys too. And let's not forget, early on in Saleh's, tenure with the 49ers, that was all the 49ers defensive line was doing, rotating. And it was the best part of their defensive line because it kept them all fresh. It kept them all productive. And so you need those rotational dudes. So Peebles could definitely be in that category for the 49ers.
like you said, if you can get him on day 3, maybe in the 4th round, if they happen to slip that far down to pick 113, if you can get a guy there, that would be fire. Like, that would be fire. I mean, you're gonna have to pass up on some other guys. Who knows who's gonna be available though in that 4th round? We don't know how the draft is gonna fall. We know from our mock drafts who we're used to seeing around that time. So you might have to pass up on the tight end. I'm sorry. The quickest way to get back to winning is fixing the defense. That's my thing. So if you use 6 picks on defense first, cool beans, happy go lucky, let's get it popping. I don't care. Get this defense back to where it needs to be. Fiery, fast, and furious. I want all gas, no brakes this year.
All gas, no brakes. Let's get back to that. Now, shifting over to a couple of the guys that I chose from this 30 visit list to discuss on this draft club is Anthony Belton, NC State left tackle. All right. So this guy to me was an intriguing name on this list that I was like, okay, I definitely want to dive into this guy. He's a tank, first of all. He has a massive frame, 6'6", 336 pounds. He has long arms. He plays with a lot of power in his hands. And I later found out that he did shot put in high school. So I feel like that tracks, no pun intended. And, if the best thing about him, if you watch his tape, you see this over and over again. If he gets 2 hands on you, the job is not finished. He is looking to pancake you. He is looking to throw you at the club. He looks for work, which is another thing I love about him. And this could be an option for the 49ers, like if they want to address that Trent Williams successor and don't necessarily want to address that in the 1st round. This is a guy they can get a little bit later in the draft. I think 3rd, 4th round is his projection right now.
Correct.
So for that, I wouldn't mind if, he's not an immediate starter. In fact, I would even say, though, that he could start right away at left guard. He played some left guard snaps at the Senior Bowl, and he looked comfortable. He looked well there. I will say he's Dane Brugler's OT10. And so I do think the 49ers long-term see him as being potentially that successor. But, you wouldn't feel that pressure of feeling like he needs to start right away. As far as traits, we're talking about traits, Wayne. This guy has the traits you can work with. He also has the versatility that I think would intrigue the 49ers.
I agree. He has the versatility. He has the traits. I mean, you're talking a 6'6", 336-pound guy. All right. Now, my only concerns, though, is I don't see him as there are not too many players I see as a Trent Williams successor if they can't do what Trent Williams can do, and that's move. And I don't know if his mobility would be 49ers fit. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, he's a big guy up front. He's probably going to be able to pass protect. He's going to get beat with speed guys out on the edge. He's going to get beat by guys with moves out on the edge. How do I know? Because David Walker was one of them. Go watch the Senior Bowl reps. 1 versus 1s, and Walker got him good, right? But I'm just saying, like, when you think of, and I'm not comparing him to Trent, but if you're looking for Trent's successor, I would be looking more for a guy that I know's got that good 10-yard split, that, that's the key, that 3 cone, those numbers. I would look more into the testing of those numbers because Niners are an outside zone team, and they're not as good as an offense if they can't produce outside zone runs. We've seen it. They've tried it. It just looks, teams know they can't get to the outside. You got George Kittle coming on freaking broadcasting saying, yo, what happened to being an outside zone run? Like that's bad. So I think the Niners would definitely want to get to it. Think he's a great prospect, but can he move? Does he have the mobility? That's my only question about Anthony Belton. Other than that, he's a mother freaking monster up front. Dude's a monster.
For sure. And as people are mentioning in the chat as well, like, yeah, I think some teams will look at him mostly to be a guard. And, the 49ers do look for those hybrids. Like, they like their guards to have previous tackle experience. Mm-hmm. And, I think at the next level, Belton could definitely have that, similar path in the NFL. And yeah, I've seen people say like his size profile or his athletic profile doesn't really match what the 49ers look for from their offensive linemen. From the size standpoint, like Trent is 6'5", McKivitz
good anchor.
6'6".
Good anchor.
Yeah. I mean, you're seeing clips from the Senior Bowl. He was pretty dominant, really, aside from that David Walker one-on-one rep that you mentioned.
He was holding. Josiah Stewart.
Isaiah Stewart, Mike Green, like as a Raku, all these guys, he pretty much dominated. So
which is another reason why I like David Walker. It's something about his leverage.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like his size, I think actually lends itself well to be able to win some matchups in the NFL.
There's the rep. There's one.
No, this is the one.
But he got prime on the first one too. That was the 1-1-1, but that was the 1A. This the 1B, C, D, E, F, G. Like I'm trying to tell you, something about Walker. Guys, you're gonna love Walker, but Anthony Belton is a dude. I'm not gonna lie. He's a powerful, good, strong anchor up there. Again, my concern is how mobile is he to kick to that gear, that 10-yard split? Because I'm looking at his 10-yard splits of 182. It's not bad, but
So I mentioned, right? He's 336 pounds, which is on the heavier end for a tackle.
I think good for a heavy guy.
I think it helps him, get that power and dominance against edge rushers, but you don't necessarily need to have that weight to be able to dominate edge rushers. And what we're speaking to, like the concern about his athleticism and, being able to be an outside zone guy, how is he on the move? He can lose some weight, and that could probably help with his, mobility as well. So he's an interesting, intriguing player, I think, for me, if the 49ers look to target him, on late day 2 or early day 3. I'm
okay if he lost weight, but please don't lose power.
Yeah, I mean, definitely can't sacrifice one over the other. But, I trust in NFL strength and conditioning programs.
Do you trust the 49ers strength and conditioning program? You thought I wasn't going to hit you with that? Come on, I'm king of comebacks.
Fair question.
Yeah.
Fair question.
That's why we need to stay away from any players dealing with any injuries whatsoever. They need to come in perfect.
I mean, yeah, that's a fair point on the 49ers specifically. For my next 30-visit player that I wanted to talk about here, Bilhal Kone. So this guy is primarily an outside corner guy, worked in a zone-based scheme at Western Michigan, so you can already see how that fit makes sense for the 49ers. He can close on receivers fast. He's got very good downhill speed for run defense as well. I think that's like one thing I love about his game. He's a good and very willing tackler.
Yes.
Great technique, 70 tackles in 2024. You'll see that in his tape over and over again. Like just look at his base, like very good technique there. A drawback on him is that like he doesn't have the same ball skills as some of the other corners in this class. Only 2 interceptions in his career, but he's very physical. He's disruptive at the catch point. One of the games I watched of his was against Ohio State, and I thought like he held himself pretty well in that game. He held his own, and he flashed in the Senior Bowl to me as well a couple times. He had some good battles against the Illinois receiver Pat Bryant. So I like what I saw from Bilhal Kone. The reason that I picked him to talk about today, compared to some of the other options that I had, was because, I think he's kind of overlooked a little bit, and you don't hear his name all too often. But for the 49ers to bring him in for a visit, there's obviously something they like about him. And yeah, I can see it.
I can see it too. I mean, 4.43 guy, they talk about getting faster back there. And if you look at the way that they've been drafting their corners, I think after free agency now, and then they hit the Diamador Lenore, they're developing him. And you can see what he's turning into. This is another Diamador Lenore mixture with freaking Renardo Green. Like, this kid has 9 pass deflections. After interceptions, he's breaking up passes. Like, that's what he does. Like, good luck, because his pass is going to get broken down, like broken up, right? And that's what the Niners want. I'm sure they want the interceptions, and those will come. But when you get dogs out there, and I said that, those 3 guys that the 2, I think it was 3 corners that came in for visits, or 4. They are dogs out there on the football field. Like, they're stingy, and they're not trying to let anybody catch the ball on them. And you have to, there's a PD right there. And so this is what he does. But he has the speed to back it up. I believe he's faster than Diamador Lenore. I can't remember Renardo's Green 4 time. I think he ran a 4.46, but he's a 4.43. And so that's good. You're getting faster. This is what the Niners said they wanted to do in the offseason. They wanted to get faster, younger, and cheaper. 3 things. And this is what they're doing. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the prospects that they have. You could get him probably rounds 4, 5. I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners tried to trade up into the 6th round somehow, because he might just be sitting there. You know what I mean? And he won't make it to the 7th. So we'll see what happens. But I can see him being another dog in Saleh's system, and he'll be getting a real defensive coordinator to coach him up. Like, right, we got Renardo Green, and he was under a bootleg defensive coordinator. You get what I'm saying? So imagine what he's going to be like under a real defensive coordinator. And if you draft another guy, you're going to be bringing in some daggone fiery competition. So Darrell Luter Jr., man, put your cleats on, man. Strap up them pads, dog, because they're going to be bringing in some dogs.
And looking at the range again, like from what we talked about earlier, just the range of the corners that they did bring in for visits. You're looking at late day 2, early day 3 guys. And so Bilhal Kone, 4th to 5th round grade in Dane Brugler's draft guide. So definitely a favorable range for the 49ers if they want to look for some value a little bit later. He has traits, like we said, we keep talking about traits. He has traits that give him plenty of upside. And as you mentioned, a coach like Robert Saleh and having guys like Lenore and Renardo Green in that same building, you're going to be able to get the most out of him for sure. So definitely a bit of a sleeper, I think, Bilhal Kone in this one. But Wayne,
tons of sleepers, man. Listen, It's not even over yet. Like, we still got a whole week to 6 days, and you're gonna get reports. I mean, shout out to Chris Paul. He sent me a DM, and he's very excited. You know what I'm saying? And I really like his sideline to sideline game. I get he's undersized. I know a lot of people aren't talking about him. I just wanted to give him a shout out. I think he'd be a stud. He met with the 49ers. He had a top 30 visit with the Niners as well. And I think the Niners that 3rd pick, that 75th pick, if they can, I think they go linebacker. And I wouldn't be mad. I would not be mad. I'm telling you, Steph, I don't think they address the offensive line to the 2nd, 3rd round pick or round 4. They got 2 4th round picks.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Paul makes almost too much sense for the 49ers. So I want to ask you this.
Snap.
He posted a picture of him.
But the crazy thing is, you didn't even know I was going to say what I said, and then you popped this up real quick. That's dope.
Because I'm quick. I was able to pull it up.
Facts. That's true. Facts.
I had it at the ready. I wasn't planning to show it.
Had it loaded in the clip.
Yep. Exactly. You know how I do. So let's shift back, though. I want to ask one last question before we get out of here. So we know the 49ers usually bring in at least 3 of their 30 visit players to draft, at least 3 of these guys. So as a fun exercise, if you had to guess, or not guess, but which 3 do you want the 49ers to draft from this 30 list if you had your pick?
Okay, so all right, I'm going all defense here. I can tell you that right now. Yeah. All right. Give me Walter Nolan.
Okay.
Can I be the first to say that I really do love Darius Alexander, though? I get he's a little older. That's one of the things I like about him. He's ready to come in. He's ready to ball out. He's not getting enough love, but this kid can line up inside and outside and be as effective from the pass rush from the inside and outside. He's perfectly even from anywhere. So that I can see him being a versatile piece for the Niners. But I like Walter Nolan. Give me David Walker.
Okay.
And scroll down a little bit. I said I'm going all defense. Give me my boy Chris Paul right there. There we go.
Yeah.
You can't tell me we ain't just rack up. We got the edge, we got the interior, and we got our linebacker. Bang.
I think our 3 is almost identical as far as who I would want them to bring in. I think David Walker is, like I said, he would be a value option for me, someone that I think would definitely fit in. There's a lot of connections there. If I had to predict any of these guys, I think David Walker is going to be one of those guys they're going to prioritize trying to bring in. So he definitely would be one of mine. And then, you mentioned Chris Paul as well. It makes too much sense. And the 49ers having those 2/3, don't leave it a chance and see if he's there with your 4th round pick. Get him with that last third. I know people are not a huge fan of that. People, talk about him being undersized. Don't be surprised if this is where the NFL and defenses are going. If linebackers, there's a few like undersized, quote unquote, undersized guys in this draft, but I kind of feel like that's where things are going. You want speed guys to keep up with the way the offenses are developing,
Good point.
the way the offenses are getting so fast these days. You need linebackers that can match that. So I would not be surprised if that's the new shift in, the body type that we start seeing from linebackers. We already got Fred, who has the pretty good frame already as well. So Chris Paul, I think, would be a nice addition for the 49ers. Makes a lot of sense. He gets those comparisons to Dre Greenlaw. I think the 49ers are going to love him. So I got two guys. Two guys. All right. Shameless plug to Jackson Haas, man. I mean, even if it doesn't make a lot of sense, he's just one of my favorite players that, as far as fits go for the 49ers, I would love if Jackson Haas was a Niner. Just he fits in so well as a blocker. He'd be an immediate contributor there. And I think there's some untapped potential there as far as, his ability as a pass catcher too. If not Jackson Haas, I'm going to slip in Kyle Williams too, because I'd love him, but I don't know how realistic that is. I think, he would probably go earlier than I think the 49ers would be willing to go wide receiver. But, man, I do love him as well.
Tons of talent. Like, you know what I mean? So it's going to be really hard, in my opinion, for the Niners to kind of like mess up this draft. I mean, they can, but it's going to be hard for them to kind of mess up this draft. They have tons of draft capital, and I was playing around with some scenarios, and I'll share this with you and your viewers. I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners try to trade back up into the first round, and
I wouldn't hate it.
Get Minnesota, the Minnesota Vikings on the clock. Get them on the clock. Get them on the phone. Excuse me. They only have 4 picks. Would you hate giving up 3 picks to move back up into the first round? Well, 2 picks and swapping the first. That's how much I'm going off the point value. So
swapping Minnesota's first.
So you'll swap the first, right? And then you'll have to give up your second and then your 75th. You'll still be under the point value because that their pick is worth 740 points. And our pick in a 43 is 470 plus 215. So that's slightly under. So you still might have to throw in like a fifth.
I guess it depends who they would do that for. Like,
correct.
Is there a certain player in mind?
So like if you went after, let's say you got the edge rusher and you're trying to get Walter Nolan. Let's say he falls and now you're trying to get Walter Nolan. Is it worth it?
I mean, to me, like that.
Or Derek Harmon. Like you're trying to get one of those stout. You're too top.
You could even move up for like, let's say Kelvin Banks, makes it to the end of the
first.
First.
Right. If you wanted to go offensive, you're right. So you got 3 stout guys. You know what I'm saying? People are saying it's steep, but that's the point value. Like that. Like if we're going off point value, that's how it works.
Yep.
Our first round pick is 1250. Their first round pick is 7. What did I say it was? So 740. So now you got to do the difference, right?
I'm not good at math, Wayne.
Me neither. I'm not even. Yep. Never.
That's why these draft calculators and simulators really on those. But yeah, I don't know. I'm okay with them staying pat. I'm okay with their 11 picks. If they move up, like it's got to be a stud. I think the 49ers have done a good job of when they do move up. Usually they get pretty good value for those picks. So I'm a hope that if they do that, it'll be the same thing. Like we'll be very happy with what they gave up for it. So even if it's not that specific scenario, depending on who the player is, I'm open to it. We all know that moving up as a viewer of the draft is exciting.
It's exciting, and it's costly though. Like you get what I'm saying. If you want to move back up into the first round, it's costly, and we're not giving up our first round pick. I didn't mean to say swap first round picks. I'm sorry. My apologies. Don't swap the first round pick. Niners draft at 11. We're just getting back into the first round. My apologies. So we want their first round pick. So that's why I did this right. All right, here's the math. 740 minus 470. Get the calculator out. Their pick is worth 740. Our pick is worth 470 points. We owe them more points. You get what I'm saying? To move back, it'll cost us to move back up. We still pick at 11. So let's just say we got our edge
so that's
rusher.
what I'm saying. We get that edge, yeah.
Yeah, and now you want that defensive tackle that's still there. You get Kenneth. You get your choice of Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan, and Derek Harmon. I would do it. I think I would do it.
I mean, for a team that needs impact guys that are NFL ready away, a lot of those are at the top of the draft. So
I would do it. I'm not going to lie. I would do it. You might have to give up your second, your 75th pick, and possibly pick 160. That's why I had said 3 picks, and we're still under the point value. Like we still owe them like 40 points. But y'all can eat that. They can eat those little points.
I like the scenario. I like thinking through all these things, and man, we got less than a week until the NFL draft, so there's a lot of talk swirling, a lot of rumors. We got a few here as well, so I just can't wait to see who they select. But Wayne, thank you so much for joining me today. The 49K Draft Club has been so much fun. Definitely going to be bringing that back next year as well. But Wayne, if you're down, we do a show next week as well, maybe preview day 2 of the draft. Same time, same place?
Same time, same place, because draft not until that night. Let's do it.
You heard it here first, so make sure you guys like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Not just mine, but Wayne's as well. You hit that notification bell and you know when we go live, so make sure you do that too. Make sure you... This guy with all his audio.
Got the bells and whistles.
Got literally all the bells and whistles. Make sure you guys check out the 49ers Draft Tracker, bit.ly 49ers Draft Tracker 2025. For now, folks, have a good rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend. Talk to you later. Peace.